sweater comments. Well, no, it's week 9 of DZPD's build show. 9 weeks, man. We've been doing this a while. I am wearing a stand color sweater tonight. I've worn this one before. It's not new. So there you go.
All right, you're allowed to repeat every now and then. We'll let it go.
I'm not out of sweaters yet. I just chose to wear this one tonight, and just I don't know why. Anyway, but I am wearing a sweater because it is freezing cold in my basement, and or at least I'm freezing cold. And so yeah, week 9. So the last 2 weeks we've talked about skill builds. It's been fun.
And you are, and I am.
Oh yeah. And I don't know. Who am I? No.
Gamer tag Burt Reynolds is the first one talking with a sweater and on camera
I am
personality
gamer
right
tag
there.
Burt Reynolds. Yeah. And this is the golden voice of gaming, Negan Killjoy.
I am
off
Negan
camera,
Killjoy. That's right.
but with the good
Just
voice.
chilling back here.
The nice,
Enjoying
calming, relaxing voice.
enjoying
Yeah.
my soda.
Your soda.
My soda.
Yeah.
All right.
Negan occasionally sings while we play, right? Negan?
I
Not tonight,
I
though,
do.
or I don't know, maybe.
Probably not
Maybe.
tonight, no.
Probably
Yeah,
not
let's see.
tonight.
Let's see where the night takes us, and we'll go from there.
Maybe next time we play Can I Get an Upgrade? Which might be
There
next
we go.
week. You could
There we
you
go.
could make a song up about upgrades and sing it to us.
There we go.
That would be fun.
Exactly. I'll consider that. I'll consider my new homework for this week.
There you go. Make up a jingle about Can I Get an Upgrade, and then you can sing it to us.
Okay.
Anyway,
Nice.
yeah. So I can have another soda. Maybe if I can make the emote work. There's my soda. Anyway, man, he really chugs those sodas. So,
Mhm.
we've been talking about skill builds, and I'm still loving the skill build. Actually, the last 2 days I've been running the build I'm going to feature tonight just to refamiliarize myself with it. And I've really missed the fun of having really strong Pokeballs. Um, this build is not a skill build. This is a damage build. And as you may know, I believe, we featured an Unbreakable build, and we featured a Bloodsucker build, maybe a couple different Bloodsucker builds. But we've never featured any of the like standard old school, um, original sort of damage builds. And I would say that those are really Berserk and Unstoppable Force. And so tonight we're gonna feature a basic Unstoppable Force build. And you're going to see on this build that it is really just optimized for ultimate damage output. I would call this potentially a raid build. I would run this in the raid. Actually, I think I have run it in parts of the raid. Um, it would be good, when you think about the raid, if you've done it before, if you haven't done it before. There's some roles in the Razorback fight. One of them is generators, and the other one is ad clear for each generator zone. This would be a good build for ad clear. It would not be a good build necessarily for generators. And the reason I say that is I really feel like the person on generators needs to have a ton of sustainability. Unbreakable is my favorite for that role only because it gives you that, like, oh crap, I'm almost dead. Oh wait, now I've got 3/4 of a life back, so I can, get myself to cover. This does not
So
have that.
when you say sustainable, you
Yeah.
mean being able to stay alive, not necessarily sustainable damage output.
Right.
You want them to stay alive.
It's just, yeah, you need survivability. That's probably a better word for it, Negan. Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, tons of survivability is optimal for that person who's running generators. But this would be a great ad clear build. So I am gonna. Well, I guess there's a third role. I shouldn't leave this one out. It's one of my favorites. Somebody, ideally in every team we've ever run the raid with, runs drone duty, and they usually run a rifle build, parked up above generator 4 on the ledge, and they're helping out with ad clear on 4 and bursting down drones. That would usually be a rifle build. I don't think we've featured my rifle build yet. I have one. Maybe we'll do that one of these weeks after we play another round of Can I Get an Upgrade. But
And
without
speaking
further
of the
ado,
raid,
Unstoppable Force.
just Just to give people a reference, you're talking about the Razorback, which is the last boss in the raid. There's a point where you have to get generators as a group, which is why you want survivability, because if you get out, it messes up the timing. And then there's a wave at some point where a whole, well, I would say a bad word, but a whole crapload of drones come out. And you want somebody taking those drones off the active players who are trying to lay damage on the boss. So that's why there's the different roles, and why in this particular case, the build you're going over tonight is more for the ads that are causing problems, trying to kill the players and stuff like that. So you're clearing those out, among other things that you're going to talk about that it's good for.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it would be great for that role. And again, kind of, we've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you're looking to do the raid or you're looking to do heroic content, damage is not usually the issue. You don't necessarily need to put out a ton of damage for a raid build. I think kind of the going mentality is, you need to have at minimum, 60 to 70% combined specific and all weapon damage, and you need to have 60 or more DTE. But what you really need to do is stay alive, because nobody does damage when they're down. That said, if you have people who are more favored towards damage, meaning, they're pushing, maybe 80% combined weapon and specific damage and 80% DTE, but they're maybe not quite, or they don't have a talent that's going to actively heal them like Unbreakable, or maybe they're a little bit squishier, not really squishy, but a little bit squishier. They are probably better suited for the ad clear role because they'll be able to burst those ads down a little faster. And they have probably more opportunity to get into cover and use, say, something like Patience on their knee pads. The guy on generators kind of just got out in the open until the door opens and he can fire his crossbow bolt or throw his grenade, whatever he's got to do. He's kind of standing out in the open. And then when he's fighting, when they're attacking the boss, the panels on the actual Razorback, he's pretty exposed as well. And so, the other role is to clear ads the whole time. And that person has a little bit more flexibility to recover, and their damage, enhanced damage, can be used there. Now, I don't think anybody should ever run the raid with anything less than, roughly about 320 to 350 combined armor and health. I think if you're below that, you're in trouble. So there's my advice. Let's look at the build, and we'll go from there.
Let's talk about this build you're going to be using.
So the thing I want to call out
when you're going to put this together, overall. So there you go. What are you calling out overall?
Yeah, overall, you got to have Unstoppable Force on the chest. So there's the overall on it. Also, overall in this particular build, because again, when you look at what I've got going here, I'm about 365, is that right? Somewhere in that range. Yeah, 365, 370 armor plus health. It's actually one of my squishier builds, from that perspective, at least from an armor perspective. And I can push more armor or more health if I give up some of the skill power. You see that I am running a bit of skill power, and we will talk about that in a little bit. Before TU5, I was running none. This used to be a 9. Well, it was roughly a 9-11 0 or something like that. 9-10-0. Something ridiculous, 990, I don't remember. But it was much. I used to have a Gila chest in here, and I had a blue Gila holster, and so some things were different about it. But made some changes because of TU5. Guns are very much the same as you see me run on all my other damage builds. I'm going to run Ranger, I'm going to run Allegro, I'm going to run Unhinged. I am going to run, again, on this build because I love the perk. I am going to run the Liberty. Shooting somebody's weak point, breaking it, and getting a lot of your ammo back, especially on an LMG, just so strong that I would hesitate to not use it. Now, if I did have an Eagle Bearer, I would probably run the Eagle Bearer here instead of that. But since I don't, Liberty it is. Um, yeah, nothing special about the towns here other than, I do have one of these black market M60s or military M60s with Allegro on it. That would be another excellent second slot choice. But Optimize basically undoes everything that sucks about Unhinged, more or less. So, that's why I'm running Optimize. I'd rather put rounds on target than have rounds go out of the end of the barrel faster. So,
And especially running the Liberty on top of that. You're putting rounds on target, and it's reloading when you hit their weak points. You just can sit there for
yep.
hours, it seems, just unloading on people.
Yeah, I was doing that last night when we were doing the student union. I don't think I went one whole room. It's outcast, right? So tons of weak points. I think I cleared an entire room without ever reloading with my LMG, which is awesome. So, gear sets and set pieces. Starting at the top left, since that's the way we read in America. I went a mask you've seen before. Providence Defense got a huge, great armor roll on it. A little bit of health, 41% DTE plus hard hitting, so grand total of 51% DTE coming off the mask alone. Again, I love Providence for it's got a very strong three-brand set. Maybe one of my all-time favorites. The other one I really like for a three-brand set is Badger Tough, but this one is great. Y'all Gear has a similar setup to this. Also, if you have Y'all Gear pieces, it'd be very similar. But I love Providence. Every one of those brand sets is valuable. In a general
And Providence has gotten better since TU5 again, because you're probably going to talk about it because you have the skill power in some of your pieces, but because of the skills and because where skills are now with TU5, so Providence is even better because of that percentage it gets.
Yeah, ironically, before TU5, I was running Providence on almost everything because of the 8% health and the 5% weapon damage. But on a lot of my builds, I was getting 10% skill power, and I didn't have any. So I was getting 10% of 0, which of course is 0.
Yep.
But it was still good. I still liked it. But yeah, now I actually get something out of it. So then I'm also running a Providence backpack, and got weapon damage rolled on there. Got some armor and some health. It's got efficient on it, which I love. Efficient allows you to, use an armor kit and have a chance not to consume it. I find that very often, if not almost always, that 50% is again more like 80%. It procs more than it doesn't proc. And again, has hard hitting, so more damage to elites. I like this backpack. It has an offensive mod slot in it, where I'm going to load up some more assault rifle damage and LMG damage. Now, I will call out, one of the reasons I have the specific set pieces I have here is because I have 5, count them 5, offensive mod slots, which is nuts.
Definitely advantageous.
Yeah, and I could push even harder into that by running a different pair of knees, but then I would lose out on having both patience and hard hitting. But I could, theoretically, I have another version of this build where I'm running a Fenris chest. I lose the skill power, but I pick up the ability then to run something else in the knees, and I can run actually with 6 offensive mod slots. But I lose patience on the knees, and I really like patience on the knees, so I choose to continue to run it like this. In the chest piece, I'm gonna, again, I rolled the weapon damage using one of those chests from a couple weeks ago that the vendor sold. I've got minor skill power, but hey, it's skill power. I've got armor, a defensive mod slot, and an offensive weapon mod slot with LMG damage and assault rifle damage. And again, the talent, Unstoppable Force, killing an enemy grants you 2% weapon damage for every 25,000 max armor. So, again, you get 8 per 100,000. So I've got 22% additional weapon damage coming in after a kill, which is nice. That's a nice talent to have. Not quite as strong as Berserk, but hey, you know, I'm running, I'm been playing a lot more my style with this. I don't base tank with it. This is a cool pair of gloves, one that you should be on the lookout for. I've only ever gotten one pair of these, and I got them relatively recently. Previously, I guess I didn't even realize they existed. This is a pair of Alp Summit gloves. I've had many pairs of the Alp Summit gloves drop. You'll see, actually, I think I have another pair here. Normally, they have an active talent, meaning something like compensated or kneecap or wicked. They don't normally have a static. And this one rolled, natural roll with 11% assault rifle damage, and it had capacitive on it. So I rolled devastating on it, and it has an offensive mod slot. So I was able to load up a grand total. We talked about this the other night, right, Negan? I got 11% plus 5%, so that's 16.
16.
Another 1, 17. 21% assault rifle damage plus 2% damage to armor coming off this piece alone.
So talk
that's
about
why I'm
just real
running
fast. The damage to armor. I mean, a lot of people kind of blow past that. I mean, a lot of people just look for weapon damage and like that. So, do you notice a difference when you're running it with some damage to armor pieces?
I do, and there's a reason why. Damage to armor is multiplicative damage versus additive damage. So it's a different category. You know, if you think about, you have all your different damage categories, right? Like damage to elites is a category. Weapon damage is a category. Specific weapon damage, though, gets combined with weapon damage for an overall weapon damage category. But health damage and armor damage are multiplicative damages. So they get multiplied. So it's like 1 times parentheses, you know, then each one of your damages lined up in a row. And so it's multiplicative. Now, that makes it extremely strong. So even picking up like 4% of it allows some multiplication to occur, and you're going to get some big damage numbers. Now, the one thing that happens with it, though, is as soon as the target's out of armor, that goes away instantly. So it only really helps you while you're fighting an enemy who has armor that's up. And then your health damage kicks in, which your assault rifle has 29% health damage. Just by default, that's its given talent. By the time an enemy's into their health bar, though, in my experience, they're dead so fast, I don't even notice it. So, whatever. But armor damage, yeah, I like it. Gila holster. Love this holster in every configuration that you can get it in, just because of the 2 offensive mod slots. Now, second choice here would be to run something with devastating on it, but ultimately, as you'll see, I'm going to get a lot more out of these 2 mod slots. So I'm picking up 3% weapon damage, so not quite the 5 from devastating, but I'm also getting 5% more assault rifle damage, 1% more damage to armor, 3% more assault rifle damage, and 3% more LMG. It's huge. Tons of extra damage coming out of that. So, you know, very strong piece. You can get it in a blue, red. Ever seen a yellow? But a blue-yellow. And I chose the blue-yellow in order to have some skill power. Finally, my knees. Got the Fenris Group ABs. Why? Because they have 2 active talents. Hard hitting and patience. Love patience. Love to get healed and cover. I've got 12% total armor rolled on these. These have been on other builds we've featured in here. And they're just really nice. I could play it with more health. I could go down to, you know, 258,000 armor and go to over 100,000 health. I can slice it any way I want to slice it. Allows me to do.
But with unstoppable force, you don't want to drop below
I'm better off with
multiples of 25. So you try to stay in there. So if anything, you'd look for another piece that would put you up 15 more. So you get that extra 2%. But no, you don't want to drop down too much further.
Correct. Yep. But I have the flexibility to do so. Should I happen to be, for example, in parts of the raid where you're dealing with poison, if I were having a problem in that area, I would switch to health.
Yes, because that goes right past your armor.
It bypasses your armor, so that your armor's not of any value there, other than to add weapon damage. Yeah. So in general, that's the build. I am going to run it with a survivalist. The last couple weeks when we've been doing skill builds, I've been running it with running my builds with Demolitionist because of the extra explosive damage. In this particular case, I'm going to run it with Survivalist because that's useful in the raid, and because I like the fire grenade. It's good CC. And now the reason for the skill power. So changes made in TU5 made all skills stronger, and I think we've all been experiencing that. I know. One of the best things that happened is you can actually make a turret meaningful. The other thing they did add was some mods to each skill, or what do they call those? What's the survivalist specialization tree? There it is. They added some mods that have very low requirements that add some things. So you can pump your turret up using one of those mods pretty easily, even with a minor amount of skill power. So I'm going to run a turret. Now, you'll notice I'm actually not running, when I called out that mod, it's right here. Doesn't require a lot of skill power at all. It would add some more damage. But I'm not going to run it because I'm not running Demolitionist.
That's why it's red. It requires Demolitionist.
Yeah, requires Demolitionist. But instead, I'm actually going to run a mod that's actually better than that mod, which is got 125.1% damage. And you'll see it needs 2,503 skill power, which is way more than I have. But having enough skill power to get that mod to open just requires me to put in about 2,000 in batteries. Not too bad. I'm able to do that. And because I have almost 800 skill power, I'm able to unlock that 125 mod, which is very valuable. If I had a little bit more, I think that's my biggest damage mod in that slot. I think I have bigger over here, but I don't think I have. No, I don't. Never mind. I know I have other ones. They might be in my stash. But I don't have enough skill power to unlock them. Damage mods for the turret generally require a lot of skill power. So having some skill power is good. The other thing I can do then is also get myself a more meaningful heal by putting a battery in here into the chem launcher. And you see here, I think I need what? 1,700. So I'm about 1,000 short of that. But because I've got a good battery and I've got 757 skill power, I'm able to add a 50, almost 60% heal to my chem launcher, which means I can get an 80,000 armor repair per canister. Now, if I were running something where I didn't care about having a heal, let's say I was running just like a challenging mission, or I was running a big group with Negan and some of our other buddies, and they wanted me to play a CC role, I would swap out for additional charges or more ammo. I could go for a quicker cooldown. I think I could go. I can't get the 5 ammo up. But I could, I could switch it up, right, for more charges, and then I'd run probably the foam launcher or the fire launcher, and immobilize people. So that's the skills I'm running with it, and that's the reasons why. And I think the one other thing I forgot to call out is, again, I have the 3 pieces of Providence. I'm also getting another 5% weapon damage there. So what does that look like on sheet? I guess that's the key question. So
that is really the question. What does it look like when you look at all the pieces together and all the damage together and all the stuff that you're taking kills away from Negan when he's running with you? How do you get there?
Right.
Let's show that.
So my P416 is hitting for 27,445 per round. I have 41% all weapon damage bonus and a 57% assault rifle damage bonus. Those of you who do math, that's 98%. I then also have 84% damage
for
to
those
elites.
of you who do math. I like that.
Right. And I have 3% damage to armor. So, yeah, this thing gets really, really hard.
So
Like,
just out of
really,
why
really
do you
hard.
choose the 416 for this? Because there are guns, I believe, like the Mark 16 and the AKM that put out a little more damage. So why'd you pick the 416 up for this?
Just for its burst ability, being able to burst things down. Because yes, you are correct. My black market AKM hits for 32.2. What is my Mark 16 hitting for on this? 29.3. But nothing's going to quite burst things down quite like the P460. And if I run in solo and I'm running like heroic content, I have run this through one heroic. I would probably actually run this 416 that I have that has Allegro and Preservation, just for the additional incoming healing. I'm going to set this one up in the range. We'll see how it does, because sometimes the lag when we're streaming messes with my range.
Right. And you
Test it
flew
out
by
here.
it pretty fast, but the P416 has an RPM of 750. So that's why it is the highest of, or higher of the three RPMs compared to like
Mine
the
has an
Mark 16
mine has an RPM of 825 because I have Allegro.
because of Allegro. That's right.
Yeah.
So it definitely kicks over the AKM, which only has 600, and the Mark 16, which is like 625, I think. So that's another reason why you like this. The 416. All right, but damage downrange. One point six, 1.6. Some rear bolts are put in almost 120K by themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty freaking good.
That one was 110. Yep. So
Oh, it's
again,
122.
this has
Dang.
yeah. This thing has no problem. Just absolutely shredding heroic content. From a damage perspective, it has a little bit more of a challenge from a sustainability perspective. But again, I can trade out for preservation on the gun, and that makes it very sustainable. So it is a cool build, and it feels very simple after playing around with a lot of the skill builds. But then you add to it, and I did not call this out, but then you add to it, like, my turret is hitting for 17,000 damage per round, and you prop that up next to yourself, and the combined output is ridiculous, right? Because now it's like you've got like 3/4 of another good player with you. On one of my other builds, which we haven't featured yet, which is my LMG build, my turret's hitting for 26,000 because I've got 2 mods in with it. That kind of, I mean, for a non-skill build to have a skill that can hit that strongly is crazy. And the duration on the turrets now is very long. So those turrets stay up for like ever. And I can switch the turret out for a flame turret and have a bunch of CC. It's just that little bit of skill power that I put into this build really pays dividends. And then of course the build puts up a lot of damage. So I think that's it. I'm gonna go back over it one more time. I got 3 pieces of Providence. I've got Unstoppable Force. That's the linchpin right there. Got to have that Unstoppable Force. And then I'm running these really fun Alps gloves with the mod slot. Grand total 5 mod slots in play, which is really bumping up that damage. Patience on the knees for a little bit more survivability. If I'm playing like I play, and we talked about this week 1, I like to play back a little bit. and from cover. If I'm playing back and from cover, patience is almost always engaged, so I'm always getting a passive heal. In heroic content, I'm going to run a chem launcher heal, but in other things, I might run a foam launcher. I got my trusty turret kicking out 17,000 damage per bullet. And yeah, man, this thing hits. So.
Which you just demonstrated, but now we're gonna. Yeah, no, that's it. You recapped it and everything like that. I was gonna ask. So the unstoppable force, when you lose armor, does your damage go down as well? So if you
No.
get shot or whatever like that, so it's your max damage no matter what. That's the calculation.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Based on your max armor.
Yeah, I thought just letting people know.
But Berserk, which we'll talk about one of these weeks, will feature a Berserk build. That, as your armor comes down, your damage goes up.
Right. It's
So
it's kind of the opposite of unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. On there, you want the opposite thing, right? You want to have like no armor and a ton of health, like 300,000 health and 200,000 armor. Here we want to have more armor. I wish I had more armor on this build, but I really feel like the trade out for a little bit of skill power was worthwhile. I genuinely believe that. Just having that turret, for example, not that I need it, but it makes things like tier 4 CPs super easy. Because I prop that turret up like at a maybe 35-degree angle to the right or left of myself, and anybody who's focusing me is getting wrecked by my turret, and that is just, it's kind of fun to watch and fun to do, and for somebody who does a fair bit of solo play, at least solo farming, makes me less lonely. Feels like I have a friend. And,
it's good to have a little buddy with you. It's nice to hear.
It's good to have my little buddy with me. I named it. My turret's named Tom.
Tommy the turret. I like it. There we go.
The turret, yeah. Yep.
You spend way too much time with it if that's the case, but we won't go there tonight. Oh man.
Yeah.
This
Anything
also
else
goes
you
back.
want to ask me? Yep, go ahead.
I was going to point out again, this goes back to the way you're playing this particular build, as you said, is one of your favorite ways of playing. You're playing back, little mid-range, you're playing in cover, you're not face tanking, you're not running out and shooting things, which is kind of where if you had more armor, you could a little bit more, but this is more along the lines of kind of a support role or just a relatively non-aggressive role, hanging out with Tom the turret in the back, so you just shoot people as they come at you or whatever like that. That's your strategy for this particular one.
Correct. This plays right into how I play the Division. I'm going to find some mid-range cover. I'm going to shoot from that cover. I'm not going to move a ton. I'm going to put my turret up in a strategic position up high and about 30, 35 degrees right or left of myself. And then I'm just going to go to town with that. Specifically, I'm going to go to town with the LMG, trying to find every weak point I can crack. When I run out of that, then I'm going to flip to the assault rifle. I'm going to go to town with it. And I'll push from cover using cover-to-cover maneuvers, usually, with this build. I'm not going to expose myself a lot. And you know me, Negan, I'm not into face tanking. You've played with me for years. I've never been the guy who runs ahead in
you
the
are
next
not.
room.
You are
runs
not
off.
the face tanker of the crew. Nope.
No. So this suits my role perfectly. I like it. But again, you can see with that much damage output, looking at that damage, with that much damage output, this build has enough survivability to easily run the role of ad clear in the raid and put out a massive amount of damage, right? I mean, that is a ton of damage when it's hitting that hard. And so, this would be a great ad clearing build for the raid.
And the turret also stops and makes the bad guys kind of back up a little bit too. It's also good for crowd control as far as that goes, which going back to the raid, you have a lot of guys that are moving. So if you're using a turret, you're staggering people. Again, it goes back to the whole ad control, helping the buddy out who's just sitting there in the generator doing their thing in their raid, and helps your buddies out in general with the different content as well, because they don't have to shoot people, or they have an easier time shooting people who are getting staggered and stopping.
Yeah.
We only time you get to kill people running with
raid yet, but but I think it would be fun, and I know some of the other DZPD guys did a run of the raid where everybody ran a turret, and they said it went pretty smoothly. So again, these skill changes are making a difference. I think that's the big message, right? The skill changes have actually made a difference. So it's cool. It's very cool.
You want to kill things?
Yeah, I want to kill things. So why don't we hop off stream and let's go kill some things.
You don't want to show it in the field this time? You just want to show your damage down below?
I think, well, I mean, you want to kill some things south of the White House? We can go kill some things south of the White House. I guess I could show the turret.
Yeah, show Tom. Show Tom off a little bit.
Show Tom off a little bit. We could bust Tom out. This is gonna go pretty quick. Not that the skill builds haven't gone quick. They have. I totally. But man, this thing is like a delete button, especially for elites. It really, really is.
Which is always good to have. Again, talking about the raid, there's a lot of elites in the raid, so it's good to have it there. But just generally speaking, because you get to certain points, the heroics and the level 4 checkpoints, a lot of elites gives you a lot of fodder for your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So watch where I put this turret. I'm gonna see if I can find. Yep, there it is. So see, about 30% off from myself. I put it up high. Put it on this person. Oh, they're gonna be gone. That guy's gone. And as you'll notice, they're really distracted by the turret. Like for whatever reason, despite the fact that I'm the bigger threat, they're really worried about the turret. I didn't even see who the boss was in this one. Yeah, oh, it's a medic.
Okay. Yep.
All right, you're gone.
Well, it is. Oh, wait, you meant it was a medic. Delete.
That was brief.
And speaking of the turret, just real fast, I'm sure most people know this part, but the turrets also, by themselves, as you said, the guys here were focusing on it, but you get into other content, the big bosses, the big heavies, will tend to try to take out whatever you put down as far as CC goes, too, so that's a plus. Again, goes back to crowd control, goes back to helping out your team. And if you put it in a spot where it's more difficult to get to, they will spend a little time trying to get to it, which makes it easier for your team and you to take them down.
Yeah. And the other part of it, too, is, I mean, you look at, if you're able to get into a position where it's not easily shot at, look at the duration on this turret, Negan. I mean, I put that thing up, I don't know, a minute and a half ago. It's not even halfway. I mean, I'm going to kill it, and then it's going to come back in 22 seconds, and the thing is up almost constantly. If you just take it down like a second before it's going to expire, you basically have Tom with you the whole time. He's never not there for you. He's like a perfect friend, always there. And you just have to get him into a spot where he's not going to get destroyed by the enemies. But they stagger it. If you put it in a really difficult place, they will keep trying to shoot it. They'll be so distracted by it that you just get open shots on them all day, which is pretty nice. But you did see the delete on the medic there, and how quick the elites drop, because you're basically, I mean, you're kicking out against an elite. I'm kicking out, if you add up the armor damage, the weapon damage, and the damage to elites, I'm doing 185% damage plus unstoppable force. It's kind of messed up. Yeah, so it's a lot of damage. But what's cool about the Negan is we just proved that both skill builds and gun builds are in a good spot at the moment. And,
yes, we did.
And other than the fact that you can kind of have the best of both worlds by using on the ropes, spotter, and compensated, balance is in a pretty good spot at the moment. So
it is.
Ultimately, this will be a slightly better gun damage dealer than any skill build, but everything feels good at the moment.
In this particular build, obviously it's pretty well maximized, but if you had to add some more stuff to it, you said you'd like to look for more armor? Or, I mean, what What little tweaks from this point would you be doing to this build, if anything? I mean, it's in a good place. Don't get me wrong. You've melted the freaking boss, but what kind of things would you be looking for as like little tweaks?
So ideally speaking, couple things I would want. I would want a better Providence chest that has actually more skill power on it. 151 is a terrible roll. I would want one with the stat economy on this chest, because I know when I rolled the 13% weapon damage, I had room to roll a lot more weapon damage on it if I had a chest that had more. I do, but I'm saving it in my stash. I hoard my best chest for someday when I get the perfect chest piece, which will never happen. But anyway, when I rolled that on there, I think I could have rolled like 18% onto this chest. I think stat economy was there for it. So this chest is actually not very good. If that makes sense. So I would want one. I bet this thing could have 500 skill power on it. I could still roll 13%. I'd want that. And then yes, I would definitely want more. I'd want to be closer to 300, if not. Well, I'd want to be at 300 for the round number.
All right.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still, like we said, it's still a pretty good build, and you like it. And it's not a. It deleted the boss. It did its work. Run around with Tom, your buddy. You're good. You're good to go with this one.
Yeah. And I will call it out. The other piece I would not mind having. Show you the other chest I normally was running in it. This is Fenris with Unstoppable Force, and in this particular case, it's got health and vital. And when I was running this, I was running different knee pads because I have to run the Fenris knee pads, right? And I was like 270. I think the way I had it was running the build before, I was like 275 armor, 117,000. But I didn't have patience on the knees, and so I think if I could get one of these chests, two things I would want. I would love to get a different Fenris chest, one that has hard hitting instead of vital, and two, one that has armor, weapon damage, and a utility, a skill power roll on it. Again, because then I could have that skill power. That would be probably if we're talking like ultimate chess piece I want. It's that armor roll. I'll roll the weapon damage on. It's fine. Instead of health, it's got an electronics roll, and instead of vital, it's got hard hitting on it. But seen that chest. So, like here, I have one. Kinda right. You'd think this is that. However, it actually has health on it and not armor, and so this makes me squishy as all get out. Like I've crafted probably 30 Fenris chest pieces since TU5 came out. So RNG, my friend, RNG.
Absolutely. All right, good. Well, we killed things. Showed the damage off. Showed Tom the turret off. Anything else you want to talk about real fast? What else you got for us? Is that good? Talked about everything you need to talk about?
I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about tonight. Yeah, so I would sign off with some clever sign off, but I'm going to let you sign off since you have the cleverer sign off. And
Well,
next
first,
week,
though,
I think we'll play Can I Get an Upgrade? Because we need to get
another round.
So
yes,
I think we should
Sounds
play
good.
another round of Can I Get an Upgrade? We'll look at the next
Sounds
part
good.
of the farming route, see if we can get an upgrade. We'll play the game, get the points. Yeah, so check it out next week when we play Can We Get an Upgrade?
And after all that, can we get an upgrade next week? And for now, see ya.
Thank you, Negan.
See ya, Burt.
All right. Putting a skill build back on.
Oh, man. Just shows you where skill builds are these days. You put now that kind of damage, like, you know what? Skill build's back.
I'm putting a skill build on.
putting still some skill builds together. Just getting power pieces though.
Again, though,
For
I
the
mean, like
longest
I
time
was
I was
having
sitting there, I was throwing those away.
a ton of fun last night with this build, right? And it was shredding last night too. Um, I enjoy. I think I just enjoy the. Uh, I don't know. I enjoy the skill build.
There's nothing wrong with that. You enjoy what you need to enjoy. It's all good. I've got the picnic basket. I've got the 6-pack of beer with me. I can sit in the back having sandwiches and drinking. It's all good.
Well, I feel bad about that aspect of things. I don't want.
No, it's
Don't
actually
really
not
want
that bad.
that.
I make it sound way more dramatic than it is. I do still get to kill things, but it does make the, as you said, you're running through heroic content solitaire, so I think we should be definitely doing more heroic content as a group and really putting those to the test. Because solitaire, I mean, you have the enemies aren't really super heavily their health pool isn't really bad. It's bad because it's heroic, but yeah, I think running heroic as a group really starts putting those to the test. And I think having 2 or 3 of you running them would be interesting to see, like Tidal Basin. I would love to run heroic Tidal Basin with 2 skill builds at least and see what happens. And see
Oh,
how harder.
I absolutely want to do that.
Yep.
But I've been saying that for weeks. It's just we're having a hard time getting.
Yeah, it's always, yeah, it's kind of that fourth wheel issue that we have. Not to sound bad.